Today's topic, Configuring Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse, OEPE, for Oracle Cloud, is presented to you by Tom again.
Thank you, Peter. Hi, my name is Tom again. In the next series of webcasts I'll be doing, we're going to take a look at using the Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse, OEPE, with Oracle Cloud. In this particular webcast, I'm going to show you how to configure Eclipse using the OEPE download. And on the next slide, we have our standard Oracle Safe Harbor notice. Basically, it states that this webcast does not imply a contract between us, and that what I'm presenting today should not be used to make any purchasing decisions. To get the most out of this webcast, I do assume that you have some experience with the Eclipse IDE, and ideally some experience developing with Java Enterprise Edition. But if you don't, that's okay. I think this webcast will give you a feeling for Eclipse as an IDE as I'll be walking through it. I will also talk to Oracle Cloud, and in particular, we'll be using the Oracle Java Cloud Service. For this webcast, I have installed Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse version 12.1.1.2. You can get to the page where the download is either through the Oracle Cloud main page, which I'll show you, or by going to the tutorial example that covers this particular topic. So I have installed the Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse. I also have installed Oracle Java Cloud Service SDK, the software development kit. And I'm going to be using a trial instance of the Oracle Java Cloud Service, which I'll show you as we go through the tutorial. What I want to do next is spend a little bit of time talking about cloud. You've probably heard the word cloud. It is definitely a buzzword in the software industry, and clouds come in a variety of different flavors. There is a infrastructure as a service, or IaaS cloud, software as a service, or SaaS, SaaS, and platform as a service, or PaaS. Oracle Cloud is a platform as a service type of system, which means that it provides specific application platform services, including database platforms, an application server platform, the Oracle Java Cloud Service here in the center of my screen. And those services provide specific types of functionality or capability to you as a developer. So with a database, you can create database applications. You can use Oracle's Application Development Framework, ADF, components. You can write applications that use web services, including REST. And one of the other capabilities of the Oracle Cloud is that it has a built-in identity management system, which provides capabilities such as authentication and authorization services. And with all of these services, you can create applications that you can deploy for web access, for mobile access, and even connect it to other clouds, or use it internally, as an office type of application. So it's a fully capable type of system. In the Oracle by Example tutorial that is the basis for this webcast, as I mentioned, you'll be able to find a link to download the Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse. The software runs on a variety of different operating systems, including Windows, 32-bit, which means it runs on XP and also on Windows 7, as I have right here. You can run it in Linux and even Mac OS. The download includes Eclipse Juno version 3.8, a Java SDK, a WebLogic server instance, specifically the WebLogic server 10.3.6 instance, and the Oracle ADF components, which I will show you in another webcast. So the process for configuring OEP for use with Oracle Cloud is fairly straightforward. Once you've downloaded the software, you install it. In this case here, in order to save time, I've already gone through the installation process. On a system like Windows, that, like I mentioned, that I have here, you can download all of the software under a single directory. So for example, on this machine, I have it all installed under C:/OEPE. Once it's installed and you start in your Eclipse instance, the OEPE instance, you can then add an instance of WebLogic 11G, the 10.3.6 server that ships with or comes with the download. We'll add that to our Eclipse IDE as a server. And then you can add your trial instance of Oracle Cloud as a server as well. So in this webcast, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the process of setting up OEPE. We'll also run some test software in the two locations, locally on our WebLogic server instance and remotely on our cloud instance. Okay, so let's go to the demo. For that, I need to share my desktop. There we go. Okay. So as I mentioned, I have already started my OEP Eclipse platform. But what we need to do in the next step is to create or add the two servers that we want to use with this IDE to the IDE itself. So to start with, go to the Servers tab in the IDE and click on this link that says New Server Wizard. And you begin by selecting the Oracle WebLogic server instance that comes with the download. So the one that I'm interested in particular is Oracle WebLogic Server 11G. There's a reason why this one ships with this particular download. The 10.3.6 or 11GR1 instance of Oracle WebLogic Server is the same application server that is currently used by the cloud. So this way you can develop applications locally and test them locally on a local instance of WebLogic Server and then push them up to the cloud knowing that the two servers are compatible. So I've selected the Oracle WebLogic Server instance. I'm going to click Next. I need to point to where the software is installed. As I mentioned, that's actually in my C drive. Specifically, it's in C:/OEPE. So I select WL server _ 10.3, which is again is included in the download and therefore was installed into this directory. So we'll go through the process of making sure that it's a valid WebLogic runtime, perform some checks. It also locates the local instance of the JDK that was installed, again, in the download. And notice that there are two server extensions provided with this instance of WebLogic Server. Oracle ADF 11.1.6.0. Again, this is the version of ADF that is supported by Oracle Cloud, and Java Persistence 2.0. This is actually an EE6 technology, but we have the capability of using it with this instance of WebLogic Server. So now is the time we want to actually install it. It's just a little trickier to do it later. So I'm going to click the Install link next to Java Persistence 2.0. It'll take a little bit of time to install it, and now it's completely installed. So now I have my two server extensions installed, EDF and GPA 2.0. So the next thing I need to do is actually to create a specific domain. I don't have a domain directory yet, this is a fresh install. So I'm going to click on this icon over here that allows me to create a new domain. Okay, and it knows where to put the domain. It simply is asking me to give it a name. Instead of test1, I'd like to call it domain1, but I'll leave the location alone. There are a number of different extensions that you could add. The one that is required, or one that I highly recommend that you include, are the Java required files, JRF files. So leave that checked and click Finish. It takes a little while for the development, or for the creation of this domain, as it's actually copying over and creating all the files required for the domain. It takes about a minute or so, hopefully not that long. I don't have anything else running. There we go. It's executing the script, creating the environment variables, setting the domain password, creating the domain space itself. It always seems longer when you're running it as a demo. Okay. So now it has successfully created my domain for me, put it in as my default domain directory, and I simply can click the Finish button at this point. And now I have added an instance of Oracle WebLogic Server 11G R1 to my IDE. So let's go ahead and start this instance. So I'm going to right-click on it and select Start. This is also a good way to test to make sure that the installation was successful. In the console tab, a number of messages will spit out. Specifically, what we're looking for is for the status to change from starting, as you can see down here, starting, and then it will change to standby, and eventually to running. And here in the bottom window here, we have progress. Actually, I'll take that for you. You can see the progress meter as it's running. So it's at 90% now. In a few minutes, a few more seconds, it'll be all the way completed. Okay, it went from standby. Again, it's still in starting mode for 93%. And in just a minute or two, or not that long, it will go to running. These are one of the two things that take a little bit of time, besides the download, which takes a little bit more time. .95%, we're almost done. There we go. Okay, now we have successfully made it into running mode. And if we go back to our Servers tab, in just a second we'll see that the status will move from starting to running, and it will be complete. Okay. There we go. All right, so the next thing that I want to do then is, since I have a local instance of Oracle WebLogic Server running, At this point, I would create a little test project to make sure that it works, that I can deploy to it, that I can run applications in it. I happen to have one already created. So let's go ahead and import that project. This project, by the way, is one of the projects is included as a sample in the SDK. I also have it in the tutorial itself. So I'm going to import an existing project into the workspace. I have this project located in the C:" directory. There we go. Okay, I put it into the temp directory. Ah, I don't see the temp directory. Okay. And I may have it in the downloads directory. There it is. Okay, so this project is called Ajax Guest Number. It's a simple JPA project. At this point, I'm going to import this project into the workspace for the IDE. I can copy the project in, which makes it part of the workspace directory, or I can leave it where it is. At this point, I think I will go ahead and copy this into my workspace, and I'll select Finish. It's just a question of where the files live. So now it is copying the files over from where I had them originally in my downloads directory. I now have them in the workspace directory. So let's take a look at this little project. First of all, I want to show you the web.xml file for this particular project. Okay, so here is let me make this a little smaller so I can see it. So this is my web.xml file. This indicates, one of the things I was interested in showing you is that this file indicates where the welcome file is, or the file that will start when this application is started. And that file is the spaces/ajaxgreeting.xhtml. So this is a facelet file. This one right here that will be launched first. So we'll open that file up and take a look at it. One of the nice features of Eclipse is that it provides a visual view of what a facelet might look like. Not exactly what you see is what you get, but it gives you a pretty close approximation of what your file is going to look like when it's displayed into the browser. So this has a graphic up here. That's what the graphic indicates. A heading that says, "Hi, my name is Duke. I'm thinking of a number between minimum and maximum. Can you guess it?" You enter the number here, press the submit button, and then there's a response. Make this a little smaller. So looking at the code itself, it's a very simple facelet. Again, it has a header 2 tag that does the work of actually displaying the title, an input text field where people will put in the number. That number is then sent to a bean, a JSF managed bean, where the value will be evaluated when the user presses the submit button. And this particular piece of code also has a little Ajax tag on it, which renders a message based upon the result of the user's guess. And looking at the actual managed bean itself, let me open that up for you as well. Again, a simple managed bean session scoped, some values that indicate the number that's entered by the user, values that indicate the minimum and maximum for the guess, and then the response is rendered based upon whether or not the number is the number that was randomized, the actual number that we're trying to guess, or whether it was not the number. Now, we could have done a little bit more code here to say it's too low, too high, but this is a very simple application. So again, let's go ahead and run this in our server. I'm going to right-click on the project, and I'm going to run it on one of my servers. In this case, I only have one. So I'm going to run it on my local instance of WebLogic server. This is a little slow, probably because of the WebEx. There we go. So the only server I can choose is to actually submit it to my local WebLogic server instance. So just press finish, which will go through the process of deploying this to my WebLogic server instance. Again, down here in the bottom, we can get a status on that deployment. Right now it says it's publishing at 0%, and then this will go up. And what will happen eventually is a browser window will open in the ID. And again, another nice feature of Eclipse, it has a built-in browser. And that browser will open as soon as the application is completely deployed. Because I'm running this application locally, I also have access to the output from the console, system.out. So in the bottom here, I have my little cheat code. So Duke's number is 7. So if I put in 4 and press submit, I'll get that message saying that that answer is incorrect. If I attempt to go beyond the minimum and maximum, I will get a validation error from my bean. And finally, if I enter the actual value, I'll get an answer saying, hey, you got it correct. So we know that this application now runs. It is an application using JSF and Ajax, and that application runs on my local instance of WebLogic server. So the next thing we want to do is to add an instance of Oracle Java Cloud Service to this IDE. Let's go back to my Servers tab. Here I'm going to right-click, and what I want to do is to create a new server instance. This, one of the capabilities of OEPE is that it provides all the necessary add-ons to make this IDE capable of working with Oracle Cloud, including adding Oracle Cloud as a server type. My cloud instances are not on local hosts, so I think what I'll do is just call that cloud. It doesn't actually matter where it is, or maybe I want to put in, let's be more specific, I want to put in the name of something that makes sense, like data center or something like that. These are just the types of servers that we have, where potentially they are located. So moving on to the next screen, we need to put in some information about my cloud instance. Before I do that, let me actually show you my trial instance and talk a little bit about what an instance of Oracle Java Cloud Service looks like. So here, for example, is the home page for the Oracle Cloud, cloud.oracle.com. And the user interface for the cloud is this web interface. If I were to sign in, I could get access to my current account. For those of you who are interested, though, in getting an account, what you want to do is to actually request a trial account. And once you come to this page, you can click on this button in the middle that says Try It and request a 30-day trial subscription to any of the cloud services that are currently available. The one that I'm using is this one right here, the Java Cloud Service. This Java Cloud Service includes an instance of Oracle Database Cloud Service. So this particular service comes with two components, an Oracle WebLogic Server instance and an instance of a database, which is useful for probably 95% of the applications that you want to create. Likewise, you could just create or just select a database service if you wished, which would give you an instance of Oracle 11g Release 2. With that, you could create applications that use Apex or other applications that use a database in some other way. And looking at the rest of this page, there are other types of services available. Some are available for trial and some are not. We sign into my service so you can see what it looks like. When you apply for a trial account, well, one of the things that you will receive after your application is accepted is you will get access to a specific trial or to a specific domain, identity domain, and you will provide credentials. In this case, I'm going to provide my email address as my username and enter my cloud password and then sign in. My trial cloud service actually is shared with some other folks. I actually have two instances of database services, Database and Database 2, and two instances of Java Cloud Service, Java and Java 2. Let's look at what a Java Cloud Service looks like, again, in the cloud using the interface. So right now I'm loading or looking at all of the applications that are currently available in my Java Cloud Service. There are a couple of applications that are running, that are active in the cloud service. There's also a number of information about usage and so on. There's a log, which we'll take a look at in just a little bit. So there's quite a lot of information that you can access through your cloud service browser. So going back to my IDE, what I want to enter then as information for the connection that I'm going to make to this cloud service are all of the pieces of information that I received in my email for my trial account. So my identity domain is trial, ABWE. The Java service name, again, sent in the email and on that web page, is Java in lowercase. I am the administrator, so I'll put in my user account. I'll enter my cloud password. And I need to point this connection to my local copy of my SDK, which again is under that C:/OEPE directory. Sorry, no, I put in a different directory. I installed it under C:/Oracle. There it is, Oracle Java Cloud SDK. Once I have all the information populated, I can test to see that I haven't fingered the password or have something incorrect. This is also a good way to test to see if your firewall will allow connections through to the cloud. In the tutorial itself, I have some information on how to use proxies with your cloud connection. So let's go ahead and test this connection. And I got success, so we're good to go. So I'll click Next. The name is fine, although I don't really need the at data center, so I'll take that out and click finish. Okay, and here is my instance of Oracle Cloud as a server on my in my IDE. So now that I have an instance of the cloud, I can take this application. I don't need to make any changes to it at all. I can go ahead and deploy this application as is directly to the cloud. So I simply have to right-click on the application, select Run As. Again, I'm running on a server. And this time, I want to select my Oracle Cloud instance and select Finish. Again, during the process of deployment to the cloud, I will get some status messages down here in the bottom right corner. It takes a little while as it goes through the process of creating the jar files, passing the jar files over to the cloud. But just as with my local instance, what will happen is when the application is successfully deployed, it will attempt to start it using a local instance of a browser in my IDE. So we'll just wait for that for a couple more seconds. And here it is. Now, being that this application is behind or in my cloud and behind an identity domain, one of the things I have to do is I have to sign in. Let me close some of these things. See this a little better. So again, I'm going to enter my user account name. Password to my account. And when I sign in, assuming that I did that properly, I get right to my application. Now here I don't have the benefit of a console. There is no system.out capability for cloud. I do have access to information about the deployment. So let's take a look at that before we try and run this application. I'm going to right-click on Oracle Cloud, and I'm going to take a look at all of the service jobs, all of the process that this deployment went through as the information went from my IDE up to the cloud. Make this a little bigger so you can see it. Okay, so here is my deployment. Oops. There we go. Here's my, one more time, make it bigger. Here's my deployment. Okay, so I deployed it 7:24, 11:38. I'm in Eastern Time Zone. This information about the deployment log indicates that the deployment action started. The deployer went through the application of pushing it up to logic. That action was completed. The deployment was completed successfully. Prior to deployment, the cloud actually ran a virus scan on the WAR file before it was actually deployed to the application server. And that virus scan completed successfully. And actually prior to that, the application was tested against a API whitelist. There's more information about specifically what is covered in the whitelist in the documentation for the cloud, but there are certain things that the cloud specifically does not allow you to do, creating other instances of JVMs, accessing system resources, that sort of thing. Things that make sense, you know, given that you're running an instance of a application server remotely in the cloud. The other piece of information that I have, if I had problems in the deployment or if there was a problem in the running of this application, I could take a look at the instance logs. These are things that happened during the deployment of my or runtime of my application. In this case, I don't have any. These are showing messages from quite a while ago, from June of 2013. If there were problems, this is where the problems would show up relative to this application. All right, so now I have a running instance of my application. I can test to see if I can get the number here. No, 4 is not correct. Let's try 7. Maybe it's 10, 2, okay. Well, anyway, one of those numbers between 1 and 10 is correct, and rather than you watch me go through the painful process of trying to figure out what it is, I'll pause here and suggest that there are some next steps that I'd like you to consider. You can run this tutorial again by going to oracle.com/OLL, and I think that URL will come up again a little later in the webcast. Request your own 30-day free trial of Oracle Cloud. Again, I recommend the Java Cloud Service, even if you don't know whether or not you plan to do any database development work. It's just as easy to ask for an instance that has both the WebLogic server instance and database instance. And then go look at this tutorial or any of the other tutorials on Oracle Cloud. And we also offer tutorials on using the JDeveloper IDE and NetBeans IDE with Cloud as well. So let's go back to the slides. I do see a question from Antonio. Yes, you can use JDeveloper instead of Eclipse. In fact, Cloud supports connections, or supports a number of different IDEs, specifically Eclipse through the OEPE, JDeveloper, and I do have a number of tutorials in the Oracle Learning Library on using JDeveloper with Oracle Cloud. In fact, it's very well integrated, Antonio. The version of JDeveloper that I show in the tutorials, you don't have to do any configuration at all out of the box. JDeveloper comes with all of the technology you need, basically, to work directly with Cloud.
Thank you very much.